Thank you. First of all, I want to welcome all of our guests. It is so great to have a full room and to celebrate all these students that we're going to be celebrating. So it's good for you to be here with us, and you're more than welcome to come anytime and visit us, please. So we'll be honoring your kids in a little bit. But prior to that, let's have roll call, please.
Deb Holly.
Here.
Sarah Lehman.
Here.
Lauren Pedersen.
Here.
Molly Monyak.
Here.
Rob Langham.
Here.
Corinne Hennon.
Here.
Jenny Kuski.
Here.
Thank you. Consideration of the agenda. There's been no changes since the agenda was published on Board Book. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Motion to approve.
Lauren, is there a second?
Second.
Rob, I'll give it to Rob. Quick on the draw there. I'll give it to Rob. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment, we have none. Nobody indicated they wanted to speak. Now on to the celebratory part of the evening, and we are so excited to have many of our phenomenal students here with us to share some of their honors. The first ones that we're going to honor are Scott West individual state wrestlers, and I will call Mr. Perkle to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. This is, as Chair Pauly said, a really fun day. I don't ever want to take this moment for granted to up here talking about our Scott West wrestlers. It's been an opportunity. This is my 6th year, the 6th time to do this. So pretty special to see that every year we're year in, year out, churning out phenomenal wrestlers, and that's a testament to our coach and our coaching staff, but also the buy-in that we have with our Jordan and Belle Plaine wrestlers. We truly are one community. And I feel like this year more than ever, this team dealt with some difficulties that really showed how much of a team and how much of a community we are as a Scott West wrestling program. So special shout out to Coach Stoffaker, and I'm going to call him up at this moment to talk about our state wrestlers. Coach Stoffaker.
Little guy, I move this down. You know, the piggyback on what Joe said, I've been here since 2000, so the idea of Scott West, when I came here, there was still that Belle Plaine fraction and that Jordan fraction. Mm-hmm. And it took a few years, and over the time it has become, it is, and we are Scott West. And I'm proud of that as being part of it. The what do you want to call it? The honor or reward goes to the kids. You know, it's them. You know, 2 of them. I offered them take them out to supper afterwards, and I said we got to go wrestle. They're going to practice yet tonight. So you know, off-season training. They have a tournament this weekend, and some of them are going to. But so these guys live and breathe wrestling. If you know them individually, you know what I'm talking about. I'll bring them up. I got 4 of the 5. One had baseball practice still, and he didn't make it over. Caleb Tracy didn't make it over. We affectionately call him Red. If you've ever seen him, he's got a mop of red hair. I've known him as Red since the day I met him, so we call him Red. I'll start with our senior, Landon Church. If you know Landon, if you know the situation he went through last year, he not only did he tear one ACL in our dual meet against New Prague early in the year, he said, you know what, I'm going to continue to wrestle as much as I can for the team. He wrestled the whole year up till our last duel, I believe it was, of the year, or second to last duel, when we wrestled Apple Valley and beat Apple Valley. And in that dual meet, he tore the other ACL. So that finished his year last year. After a long rehab process, there he is. He's back, ready to go. I understand he's playing a little baseball this year. That's awesome to hear. His senior year, he's going to finish it off. And I also got word tonight, he hadn't texted me and told me that he's going to be a UW Blue Gold next year. So he is signing to wrestle at UW Eau Claire, which is awesome. So when Landon came back this year, he was still in the process of rehabbing. They wouldn't let him wrestle live, trying to keep Landon and Leo from wrestling live in the practice room is, not easy. So, we ultimately had to put a coach on him all the time, basically until he was fully cleared. Once he was fully cleared, it was all go, and he ended up wrestling very well and getting to the state tournament and finishing 4th. All right. He, what'd you have? 4 losses on the year. 5? Yeah. They're better with stats than I am. I just like to see him wrestle, and I like to see him win matches. Then we'll go to the little guy. They call him Isaac Williams. We had some turmoil throughout the year. We had guys wanted to cut weight. Some guys didn't want to cut weight. We had a situation where we needed a 126-pounder, and if you look at Isaac, he's a pretty big boy. He said, I will make the commitment. I'm going down to 126, not only for himself, but for the team. And he did, qualified for the state tournament. As you can see, he's got a knee brace on. He had tore his meniscus mid-season, but he's like, I'm going to keep wrestling. I'm going to keep wrestling. So again, we kind of backed it off on him, put a coach on him, wrestled with him as much as we could, or put him with somebody who he could, get some things done besides getting beat up by Matt. We gave him somebody else to wrestle around with. But he got to the state tournament. It's like wrestling karma. I think Isaac had lost 3 or 4 matches this year where he was winning and he got headlocked and he got beat. And we're just like, how does this happen? Well, in the section true second match, Isaac could barely stand. He throws a headlock and catches the kid for a headlock for 5 points, and it sends him to the state tournament. So we call that karma. He got to the state tournament. He lost his first round. It's one of those. It was good for him as a freshman to get there, understand it, feel it, and we look for big and better things from him next year. So, who you want back? We'll go with Leo. All right, Leo Siekman. Leo is one of those, what weight class should I go? 160, 170, because it was kind of, here or there. He ultimately made the decision. I'll tell you it outright. I told him, just go 160. All right, that's the weight class. You've wrestled that all year. You've had a good year. You're going to have to beat one of them. All right, if you go 170, you got to beat one of them. Ultimately, you got to beat somebody to get to the state tournament. But he said, you know what? I'm going to go 170. I said, it's your call. At this point in the season, it's individual, and we turn it over to the kids and let them wrestle what they want individually. When it's the team portion, the coaches dictate kind of where you're going to wrestle, where we need you to wrestle for the team to have the best chance. But he went 170, had a heck of a match in the semifinals at the section tournament, beat a guy maybe he wasn't supposed to beat, but he beat him soundly, and it was convincing, and it was a great win for him, and it sent him to the state tournament. He got to the state tournament. Once he got there, he showed that he deserved to be there. All right, had a good run. Lost first rounds, kid we thought we could beat. Ultimately, maybe not, because the kid beat us later on in the tournament too. But sometimes that happens. But he had a good state tournament, and a guy that ultimately, in this case, I'll say it outright. If he listened to his coach, he may not have made it to the state tournament. He made a choice, and he trusted in himself. He believed in himself, and proud of him. So. Last but not least, Matt Randolph. Matty, at the beginning of the year, I asked in our rules and terp meeting with the parents and coaches, and we were talking about making sacrifices, cutting weight, things like that. And I asked Matt, we're gonna be a state champ this year, and I won't repeat his response, but ultimately he said yes. All right, that's the goal. All right. He had a great run. Got to the state tournament again. Beat a very good kid, a young kid, Cooper Road, to get to the state tournament. Tough matches. Did a great job working his way methodically through the state tournament to the state finals. and ultimately he came up, one takedown short. Some people, if you watch the match, they're like, that was 2. I don't know. Not yet. It wasn't college. It wasn't 2. But ultimately, he's right on the cusp. Unfortunately, being second place, it's not something that he wants, but it's still a proud, or should be a proud accomplishment that he obtained. And I'm proud of him, and I wouldn't give him up. I wouldn't let him off our team. So Matt Randolph, second place, state tournament. Next year we're going back to get third or first. The team, no. He's going to go get first next year. Ultimately, that'll depend on him. But again, he doesn't want to go to supper tonight. He wants to go practice wrestling in the Northern Plains, but Apple Valley tournament this weekend. Getting set for the Northern Plains, which then gets them set for wrestling up in Fargo this summer. What that does is it exposes those guys to college coaches, gives them a chance, lets college coaches see these guys wrestle, and maybe get more guys wrestling in the college realm. As far as the team portion of the team this year, if you've watched it, you understand it. Ultimately, we lost the flip. Again, we lost the flip. Bad timing to lose the flip. It dictates how matchups go, and that dual meet with Watertown ultimately came down to that flip. But even losing the flip, we had a chance at the end to win the match. We just needed one more guy to pull out a win, and could have sent us into the section finals against New Prague, and we would have loved an opportunity to take another crack at them. They beat us by 8 earlier in the year with them winning the flip, and we sure felt if we could win that flip, we had a chance to win that match too, which would get us to the state tournament. I will say, I'll openly say right now, I'll be disappointed if we're not in the state tournament next year as a team. I think these guys would tell you that. That is ultimately the goal. It starts right now. Chad Williams is later going to lay out the map of our road trip this summer for camp trip, but we're taking an 8-day, 9-day trip as a team again, and we're going to do some more bonding and get ready and see if we can get Scott West back in the state tournament. So I want to thank both our school boards, our superintendents. We had a battle in January, and our superintendents had our back. I guess for all the times that I maybe doubted that the support was there from Jordan and Belle Plaine. It's wrestling. That's a stepchild. They just forget about them. But they stepped up this year, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to hopefully making you proud next year. So thank you.
Did you get a picture? Okay, I think they're going to grab, you want to catch them? Okay.
All right. Well, we look forward to doing this again next year with the whole team.
Yes.
Landon will be signing Wednesday at 3:15 in the high school gym. We have our spring national signing day. We have 4 student athletes signing their letter of intent. So if you're available, join us Wednesday after school. Next, we have an awesome, huge group of musicians coming up. Very diverse group, band, choir, from 6th grade all the way to 12th grade. We want to recognize all of our regional winners, all of our state-level recognized performers, and all of our local winners as well. So at this time, I'm going to have to represent our middle school choir and band, Mr. Toby Tg and Rose Gilbranson, come up here and recognize our middle schoolers.
Is he doing choir first? Or I thought he was doing band first.
Do you want band to go first?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't
I just
matter.
need to know what order.
Sure, band. Well, this is choir. We can do choir first.
Okay.
Sure.
Let's do this. After we kind of do a little introduction, if you hear your name called and you're actually here, come on up and we'll get you that certificate for the picture.
Yeah, and I think it's important before we do this that I read what these certificates say, because it is so representative of how special you kids are and how hard you've worked to get the honors that you've gotten. So these certificates from the board and from the district keep them for your graduation. They really mean a lot, and they really show how very, very, very special you are and how very proud this district is of you. So the certificates say your name and your grade and the ACDA honor choir or whichever symphonic band or mixed choir, whatever your, whatever you participated in. And then it goes on to say, whose endeavor for excellence has shown character, determination, and hard work that represents the values of our school and our community. This is a small token of our gratitude to say congratulations and thank you for being a role model to the others. Thank you. Okay, so with that, here's choir.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Toby TG, and I'm the choir director for the 5, 6, 7, 8 middle school choir here. And we have a group of 12 students this year that auditioned and made the ACDA honor choirs for their respective grade level. ACDA is the American Choral Directors Association, and every year they put on an all-state choir. It's not called all-state, it's called honor choir in middle school, and this is kind of the stepping stone to what they get to do in high school when they audition for all-state. So what the process is I just throw it out there to any of the students in 5, 6, 7, 8. If they want to audition, they have to come in with me. They practice a song, they practice a scale, and then they practice a short little snippet of a song. And then we record it in my room, and we submit that. And then music teachers throughout the state of Minnesota will get those auditions, and they'll listen to them, and they'll score them based on a certain criteria, and then the highest scores get accepted into this honor choir. So with grades 4, 5, and 6, they cap it off at 5. Otherwise, we probably have more because there's just a lot of amazing singers here in Jordan. So, so our 5th graders that made this choir this year, 5th graders are Jalen Pivick, Ivy Martinen, and Leah Lucas. And a couple of them, we have in our 4, 5, and 6 honor choir, usually we can only get 5 girls and 5 boys, unless kids from the other schools that make it drop out. Then they go back into the list of highest scores, and 2 of our girls had the next highest scores. Otherwise, we'd probably have 12 girls from Jordan in this honor choir, which is awesome, but then they like to spread the love around a little bit through certain schools. So our 5th graders are Jalen Pivick, Ivy Martinen, and Leah Lucas. And then we have 6th graders Zoe Barnd, Braylon McNally, Addie Jensen, and Claire Yantes. And then we have Ethan Fisher, who made the boys honor choir as well. So those are our 4, 5, and 6th grade honor choir members this year.
Come on up front under the screen for a picture. Yeah.
And every year I tell them as they're auditioning, I'll talk while if you want to snap a photo. They have to have a good audition, which they all did. Obviously, otherwise they wouldn't be a part of this honor choir. So they have to have a good audition to make the honor choir, and then they have to cross their fingers and get lucky because the person scoring their audition may not like the sound of their voice. And that's just, it's a bias that, it's subjective. I thought all of their auditions, and even the kids who didn't make it, all were honor choir worthy, and some of them didn't make it, which is sad because they're all amazing singers. So all of these students had awesome, amazing auditions and also got lucky that the person listening to their audition also enjoyed their singing voice. So we have a couple of them who made it last year too. So Ethan made it last year, Addie and Claire made it last year as well. And then we have some band kids who are doing the band this year who made the honor choir last year and decided to do the band honor choir this year instead. So a lot of musical talent here at Jordan Middle School. So there's the 4, 5, and 6th grade honor choir guys. All right. Did you get what you needed? Okay. And then we have, and theirs is on April 29th at Matamidi, and the concert's at 5:30. If you're interested in going, it's an amazing concert, and they do some awesome song selections. So then we have our 7th and 8th grade honor choir. There's a 7th and 8th grade SSA choir, and then a CTB choir, Cambiana tenor and baritone. And here, this year, we have 4 7th graders, all 7th graders who made it this year. We have Olivia Elliott, Ella Solar, and then David Longoria and John Brown all made it for those choirs. And out of this group, they're all, I don't think any of them auditioned last year except John made it last year as well. I think right? You made it last year? And yeah, so, and John probably would have made it in 5th grade too, but it was canceled because of COVID, but, right? We didn't, yeah, oh, you weren't here. So yeah, there was one year we didn't get to do it because of COVID, but otherwise John probably would have made it a little bit. Yeah. But all of these guys audition and they get their names put into a pool of everybody who auditions. It's usually like several hundred that audition out of the state of Minnesota, all over the state of Minnesota. And so these are some of the best singers in the state of Minnesota. So it's like making state in a sport. And I tell them, if you are the best in your sport, you go to state. If you're the best at singing, you go to state. So this is basically like the wrestlers, we go to state and choir. So here's our middle school state honor choirs right here.
7th and 8th graders, we're going to take a picture of you first.
You want the director in there too? Sure, sure. Squish together. Oh,
Together or just these guys?
Just these ones first,
Okay.
and then full group.
Scoot over.
Full group. Perfect.
Suck in on 3.
All set, thank you.
next time plan on performing for us. Perform a song for us.
Good evening. I get the honor of introducing our 14 Jordan Middle School band students who were selected to participate in Regional Honor Band this year. 3 have already attended their event, and the rest will be attending an event on April 29th. All of these students did or will do an outstanding job of representing Jordan Public Schools. They were nominated on the basis of their musicianship, dedication, and strong interest in band. Although Ms. Cedarstrom couldn't be here tonight, she's extremely proud of these students and appreciate their ongoing contributions to the JMS band program, in addition to their participation in Honor Band. The 2022-23 JMS students who participated or will participate very soon in Honor Band are Anna Franklin, 7th grade percussion, David Longoria, 7th grade trumpet, Edward Brewster, 6th grade trumpet, Raylan Tillis, 6th grade flute, Zoe Zamora, 6th grade clarinet, Lucas Percio, 6th grade alto sax, Porter Jones, 6th grade tenor sax, Cami Ritter, 6th grade trombone, Osvaldo Rivas, 5th grade flute, Jessen Steer, 5th grade clarinet, Asher Allman, 5th grade alto sax, Rhea Martin, 5th grade tenor sax, Braden Pierce, 5th grade baritone, and Micah Janke, 5th grade percussion. Congratulations, Jordan Middle School.
Keep going. Keep going. That way.
A little bit more.
More.
A little bit more.
More.
Squish down.
Perfect.
There. Great, congratulations.
Awesome. Congratulations, middle schoolers. Now we're going to have our high school choir director, Katie McKnight, present our 3 high school awards.
The future of music in our district looks mighty bright.
It does.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Katie McKnight. I'm the high school choir director, and it is my great pleasure to honor these 3 students tonight. And I'll also be recognizing one of our band all-state musicians because Logan Burnside could not be here tonight. I'm going to keep this short, but I do just want to share something quickly and personal that I was a band kid all throughout middle school and high school, and I auditioned for all-state kind of on a whim my junior year of high school, and I got selected to be an all-state choir. And I'm literally standing right here in front of you today because I was an all-state choir. It changed my life. And I tell that to my students all the time. And so when I see students that have potential, I say, you have to do this because it changed my life. I didn't think I was going to be a music teacher. And here I am. So it's an incredible program. And I'm so grateful that Toby TG takes the time to prepare the middle schoolers for honor choir auditions because even the freshmen that came to me this year said I was an honor choir and they are showing up to the high school on fire about music. They're already amazing leaders, which is very helpful to me already to get the program to continue to improve and be as stellar as it always has been. So with that, we have 3 students here. They were each in a different ensemble, a very rigorous audition process, and hundreds of students in Minnesota audition for All-State. It is considered the top honor for a musician in the state of Minnesota. And students don't always get selected. So it's really a great honor that they got selected, and it says a lot about who they are. So we have junior JJ Klein, who was selected to be in the TTBB All-State Choir, which is tenors and basses. We have senior Caitlin Mahoney, who was selected to be in the SATB, that's soprano, alto, tenor, bass, mixed choir. And then Andrew Norberg was selected to be in the symphonic band playing trumpet. And while they were preparing for their performance in February at Orchestra Hall, Logan and I were able to sit in on a couple of rehearsals, which was amazing and just made our hearts burst with pride because, I mean, it's just top-level musicianship. So, and we got to see them perform in Orchestra Hall, which how many people can say that they get to do that in their lifetime? And they got to do that. I've never performed in Orchestra Hall, so I'm definitely jealous, but also very proud. So thank you again for all of your support, and we hope to continue showing off all of our students as they keep auditioning for All-State or honor choir in the middle level up through high school. So congrats to these 3.
Hold up your certificates. There you go. Thank you. Awesome. Congratulations. Yes. Very proud of you. Nice job. Oof. Wow. We have a phenomenal music program in this district, so thanks to the teachers and the students. Amazing. Okay, consent agenda. We have monthly finance reports, donations. We have an anonymous donation for 4th grade field trip, $20. VFW auxiliary post, $28.45 for 2 books to JHS. Michelle and Aaron Norberg, JHS band, $200. Alan and Donna Galbranson, JHS band, $75. We have a leave of absence request for Rachel Ryberg and facilities surplus items that were included in your packet. I won't read them off, but they're items that Dan Lehman, our facilities director, says we need to dispose of. So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Motion to approve.
Molly, is there a second?
Second.
Lauren, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, review and act, let's see, action and discussion, review and act on the 2025 Spanish Club trip request. Speeders, come on up to the microphone.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Hard to follow all those musicians who are amazing. I am here tonight to talk to you about the next trip that I am proposing. We go to Spain and France this summer. Last summer we were in Peru. We're going to skip a year and get back on our normal track of traveling in the odd years. This time I would like to take our students to Ecuador to continue giving them new experiences and for myself to travel to new countries to enrich myself as an instructor as well. Highlights of this trip, we have the option for a homestay, assuming that life stays as it is and we don't have any more unexpected things come up. And then we would be having two options. The first option, which I included in my initial request, is to go to Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador, and then spend a couple days at the beach. Our travel company, Interact, who we've been traveling with for the past 15, 16 years, recommended that we look into going to the Galapagos Islands. If you're not familiar with the Galapagos Islands, that's where Charles Darwin has his workshop, and he did his research on the giant tortoises. There are sea lions. There's a plethora of wildlife there. So that is another option I'd like to explore. The possibility of going there instead of to the beach, it would add a couple days onto the trip and it would add a little extra money. So both trips would offer a homestay or hotel option. I would strongly recommend homestay. It is one of the best opportunities for our students to get to experience what life is like in the country. Last year, we did not have that option due to COVID. This year, we do not have that option either. But to honestly see what it's like to live in this country, it's our best option. Homestay families are all vetted by the program director, so they have a personal connection, they've run background checks. In all honesty, the only issue we've really had has been with the family I stayed with, and I strongly believe that's because I was an adult and a trip coordinator, and had it been students there, it would have been a little bit different. So that's the recommendation I would put there. Travel things we would get to do is go to Mitad del Mundo, which is the middle of the earth, and be on the equator. There's some fun tricks you can do with flushing a toilet and standing an egg on end. We get to go to Otavalo Indigenous Market. We would have a volunteerism experience, which again, last year and this year we haven't had due to the pandemic. But the hope is that in 2 years, everything's good. We can go interact, we can paint at a school, we can volunteer with children. The last time we did this was in Costa Rica, and we laid sod on a soccer field, and we got to play soccer with the kids there. It was pretty amazing. We would have the option for dance and cooking lessons. My understanding is we'd be cooking cuy, which is guinea pig, which we tried in Peru, probably not my favorite. And then the other two inclusions would be going to a hot springs and going on a waterfall adventure, in which we'd see multiple waterfalls. If we do the beach option, that is 2 days at a beach, which would include going to an island for a marimba performance. Those are the big, like xylophone type instruments, but they're made out of wood, and then having some free time to explore beach activities. If we chose to go to the Galapagos Islands, we would fly to the islands. We would get to spend time on 2 different islands, go to the Charles Darwin station, see the giant tortoises, we get to go snorkeling, we would get to go to see sea lions, and a couple other small adventures there. Cost differential, the first trip just going to the beach is approximately $3,300. That would be the most expensive option if we just stayed in hotels. Staying with host families is about $100 cheaper. And then the guesstimate for the Galapagos would be under $5,000. It would add about $1,700 to the trip, so we're looking at approximately $4,900. But I told the travel company $5,000 would be probably a max. Students would be able to start fundraising this spring, should the trip get approved. We have a plethora of fundraisers that students can do, so they can fundraise, you know, depending on their wants and needs, they can fundraise probably close to $5,000 in 2 years if the kids are willing to put the time and the effort into it. So those are the main highlights. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Do you need a motion?
We should motion first, yeah.
Motion to approve the Spanish trip?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Jenny, I'll give it to you. Okay, now a discussion. Open it for discussion.
Do you have a daughter who's a current 9th grade? Do you have a daughter who might go on the trip? Yeah, I mean, generally for chaperones, I like to take parents who have a vested interest. So certainly apply when that form comes out. Molly is a former chaperone for me. She went on the Peru trip. It was quite an adventure with COVID testing and mask wearing and not knowing what was going to happen on a day-to-day basis with that health situation.
Any guesstimate on how many kids you'd have going?
I mean, we're taking 30 pretty regularly, so I would guess this would affect current 7th graders who will be in Spanish 1 as 8th graders this coming year. So I would before I promote the trip, I will reach out to the travel company and see, do we have a max? Because that would be my concern, that we would max it out and not be able to take everybody.
Have you ever had that issue?
We came close with Peru. And Costa Rica, we came fairly close with as well.
So what's the process if that would happen?
Well, off the top of my head, I would probably offer the trip to our graduating seniors first.
upperclassmen, mhm.
Yeah, a current seventh grader right now would have finished ninth grade, which is the bare minimum. You have to finish Spanish 2 in ninth grade, so you've got some basic knowledge of the language, and so you're mature enough to travel by yourself. But they would have another trip when they were juniors as well.
Other questions?
I like that we offer this opportunity to kids. I think it's just a great opportunity.
It's been,
Not gonna lie, I get nervous, you know, and because you're leaving the country, but
Right.
I just.
I don't get excited. I don't get nervous. I get excited. I think it's awesome.
I
do
wish we
too.
could do more.
I think it's awesome. Noah went to Costa Rica
I
a
mean,
couple years ago.
we've had a Lanin, we've had a Pedersen, we've had
I want you to get the
Malundo.
next Pedersen to go.
I would love to take Lando.
He's had Spanish too.
Yes.
He can go. If he goes, I'll go with him.
Yeah, it truly is one of the best experiences for the kids, and not just for the language, but to experience another culture. And for example, last year, I saw Molly's son Malachi interacting with kids like he interacted with my son, who had never really been good friends with, but they formed such a strong bond, and, you know, it's life-changing. True. That's it. Had to talk. Yeah, but even for the adults too, like I got to know Molly on a different level, which was amazing. You know, it's really overall such a wonderful experience. So if any of you have children coming up in the system, I encourage you to follow along and, you know, consider being a chaperone. Maybe we'll get a Langheim.
I really hope we do.
Yeah.
Maybe two.
Maybe two.
If you don't have children, but you love the children.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are you applying right now? Well, I strongly feel like the Galapagos might be a really big draw, and if we don't fill the trip, I would think maybe we could open it up to some of the science kids. Because that could be a good benefit for them too.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, insurance-wise, if, God forbid, there'd be some civil outrest or something that would happen, this company you work with covers all of that
Right,
insurance-wise.
so if we
and-
aren't able to travel there, like when we went to Costa Rica, we were supposed to go to Nicaragua
Right,
for
yep.
the second half of the trip, but we ended up in a lovely resort with iguanas who would come and eat our French fries. We got to snorkel, we got to do some amazing things despite the fact that there was unrest in Nicaragua. So their first plan would be to find somewhere else for us to go.
Okay.
And should that not be an option, there's a refund policy.
Okay.
I do always recommend at this point moving forward from 4 years ago that students and adults buy traveler insurance, which is fairly inexpensive when you look at what you can get out of it.
Right. Other questions or comments? Anybody? Okay, ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of approving the Spanish trip signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Happy
you so
planning.
much. I really appreciate it.
And happy fundraising.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, review and act on the 2024 Scott West Wrestling Field Trip to West Virginia University.
Hello, I want to address the school board on the 2023 Scott West field trip out to West Virginia. So it's been a long-standing tradition of Scott West to do a summer trip somewhere in the United States. And this year they, last year we did, oh my gosh, where did we go last year? Do you- No, St. Louis. We went down to St. Louis. Sorry, we went to Iowa. Iron sharpens iron. I got it now.
Yeah.
Went to Iowa, then went to St. Louis, and then went over to visit Pat McNamara and did a tournament out there and
Right.
made our way back up. And so this year they are going out to West Virginia, and so we are requesting the request to use the vans as we did last year and years past. To travel all the way out to West Virginia. We'll bring about 20 to 25 students, just like last year. and about 7 adults. We don't really quite know exactly which wrestlers will be heading out to West Virginia, but it's going to most likely be about 16 varsity wrestlers that have lettered most likely, and possibly, I don't know, we haven't fully discussed with the girls too, because we have with girls included this year with wrestling. We just don't know what at West Virginia, if they're going to have a female section of the camp. So that's still up in the air because it's not laid out exactly. I actually went online to check the West Virginia camp, and they just kind of have an overview what the camp's going to be. So more details to come on that. But yeah, so on the way like any other trip, they do multiple stops, and this year they're looking at stopping around in Pennsylvania or Ohio, around that area, to go zip lining, whitewater rafting, do the team bonding thing. I think the zip line will be a really good thing, especially with some of our kids that are afraid of heights. I have one of them. And so,
Hey, one of them do
which is good, because that's what teammates do. They talk kids into doing things that they're uncomfortable with, and I think it would be really good for those kids to experience those types of things. Another thing that they're looking at is stopping at Gettysburg and then stopping over to Washington, D.C. I am very, very jealous, and I might consider going myself this year because it seems like it's going to be an awesome trip. The cost went up just because it's going to pay for the per wrestler. The cost went up as of from last year was less than the $550 per wrestler, and just because of the extent of the trip and the length of the trip. A lot of our wrestlers, they do a lot of work in the off season. We have a wonderful family that donates corn, and we do corn sales. The Thomas family, they donate corn, and our kids go out and sell corn. If you haven't, I'm already putting a little pitch this fall. Buy the corn. It is awesome. So we do that. We also have done bagging. We also do the youth wrestling tournaments. We have a couple in Belle Plaine, and we're hoping we're getting one back here at the Jordan High School this coming year. I don't know if I had missed anything else. I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. Yep, the use of the vans. Everything else will be through either the booster or through the fundraising that our wrestlers did for themselves.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the Scott West Wrestling trip.
Lauren, is there a second?
No second.
Second, Jenny. Okay, open for discussion.
It's a great opportunity. I'm glad that you guys do this. Seems like a really good team building experience for the kids.
Yeah, after, being in my second year of coaching and just hearing the stories of the kids that have gone, or now they're young adults, have gone through it, it's amazing. And having a son that went last year, and, we'll hopefully have 4 more years of doing this. It's something that he still talks about. Just last year, just going down to Iowa and St. Louis. Now this is going to be something that's going to be even better for our kids. And as staff did say, we have a really special group of kids coming into next year. This is going to be a fun year, knock on wood, if everything goes as planned. So this will be a great experience for our kids.
So I echo, I think it's awesome. Just more kind of personal curiosity out of me. So how do we coordinate this with the Belle Plaine district? Just because knowing just
Good
how
question.
the setup of the program is, do they have to kind of go through an approval process kind of on their end? And in terms of kind of using our vans, using their vans, how did you guys kind of figure all that stuff out from a logistics standpoint? Again, more at a point of curiosity.
Right.
There's no issues whatsoever with the application.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a similar process. They don't have the van availability the way we do.
Okay.
So we've always used our vans. I believe our vans only have about 35,000 miles on them, but they may be expiring here in a year or two. So probably good we put some more miles on them this summer. But other than that, Belle Plaine really hasn't had the usage of the vans. We've used Jordan District vans, and these guys are responsible for filling it up and paying for the mileage and all that stuff. And, yeah.
And their board also.
And their board does have
is
a
having the
process as
same
well. I think
conversation.
next week they'll honor the wrestlers
Or
and
will.
probably do the
Yeah.
same approval process. So, yeah, so it's not a done deal when, if we get an approval here, they will also have to get approval on their end, so it's a dual district thing.
So I just see a note here that says school-owned vehicles may only be used for trips 400 miles or less. So is this an issue, being that it's farther?
I guess, yeah, we haven't really, you know, I think this form is probably 10 years old. We've used the vans for our California trip, our Iowa trip, so they have been used for more than that. Quite honestly, when you look at the van only having about 35,000 miles on it, I think wrestling has probably put a good chunk of that on there with the summer trips, good highway miles, but we have taken it over 400 miles for this purpose, but that is a great question because that is right on there, and
I'm just wondering if that's like a mechanical, you know, and if it was, if something broke down, I mean,
I
don't-
would guess it's district procedural. When the form was developed several years ago, your board decision would be binding despite that.
Just update the policy.
Well, procedure.
Or
Procedure.
Update the procedure.
Yeah.
Change the form.
Yeah. Yeah,
Strike
yeah, we
through.
probably should update the form.
Yeah, I think we should. Do we have enough vans to like bring potentially 30 people? Like they all fit in there?
Well, Belle Plaine does have a van,
Okay.
but I don't know what their rules and procedures are, in Belle Plaine, so if there is.
5 years ago, we rented too, because we had
Yes, I was just gonna say that, and we have rented, in the past, so, when we do have larger numbers, the Booster Club does pitch in, and then they do rent, larger vans.
Okay.
To kind of answer that question, we wouldn't cap it with our wrestlers. If we have interest and we need more vehicles, we would have the Booster Club purchase more vehicles.
And to be clear, Scott County, or Scott West, they have their own booster club. It's not
Yes.
the booster club that we talked about.
Correct, we have our own booster.
Other questions?
Good questions.
I thought you said that Scott West Belle Plaine does not have vans. Do they have vans or do they?
They do have one van, I know for sure, because I was just in their parking lot and I saw Belle Plaine van in there. So
Okay.
I was just at the SOAR program, so, I did see a van in the parking lot.
So
So I have no
potentially,
idea.
they could use that van as well.
Yep.
So you'd have
And it
three.
could be used for, and that could be the SOAR transition van, I don't know if it's a school van, I just know I did see a van in the parking lot,
Okay.
so I don't know the question or the answer.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, all those in favor of approving the wrestling trip? And on the agenda, that should be 2023 Scott West wrestling trip. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, review and act on activity fees.
Not a whole lot for this year. We always, as ADs, have kind of a living spreadsheet where we keep track of fees to kind of see where we're in alignment with our neighbors and like schools. And just kind of looking at this year, we didn't see a whole lot of increases across the board. There were a few, but where we're at, we're still $25 higher than our neighbors down the street to Belle Plaine. And we just kind of looked at it like this is probably another year to just sit back and keep the fee structure the same, but definitely something to consider for next year as we look at fees and increased costs. The only thing, and I didn't put this on here, we are looking, and this is maybe something for a future board meeting, but we are looking to add e-ticketing next year. Just the option of if someone shows up to the ticket table and they don't have cash, that they can purchase an online ticket. So our ticket fees are $7 for adults, $5 for students. However, what we would do in those cases is we would charge, because there's a fee for everything we buy. You know, you buy a concert ticket for $15, it's actually $39. But this would be the fee we would put back on the user. So let's say it's a $7 adult ticket, would actually be $8.33 if you want to purchase through the e-ticketing process and not use cash. That way, we're not eating those fees. Otherwise, if we charge $7, we'd be looking at about a $1.30 fee every time someone were to buy an e-ticket. So we want to provide that option for all of our games next year. It's always nice to have a couple extra bucks in your pocket to use at the concession stand, or if it's up to the superintendent, maybe we'll get credit card at the concession stand as well next year. But looking at that, so just I didn't note that in here, but it could be next year that if we do e-ticketing, that those convenience fees would go back to the user and not be incurred by the district. Otherwise, there is no proposal for an increased fee. The only things that were slightly adjusted were Prior Lakes gymnastics fee on here. Otherwise, all of our fee structure is the same as last year.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, Rob, is there a second? And Sarah, okay, now discussion.
Yeah, I guess this looks great. The one thing I guess that I maybe would encourage is that, so as we're thinking about how we compare relative to other schools around us, since we're now in Wright County, potentially trying to benchmark us against the Wright County schools versus the River Valley Conference schools, just because I know that there's probably going to be a little bit of a change. And I think that that's really to just manage the expectations that we're now in a little bit of a bigger conference. There's a little bit, kind of different, kind of dynamics that come with that. And just to kind of help with some of the messaging that I know is in the community right now.
If I recollect, didn't we do that? Didn't we do a study last year or the year before?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
went
we
to Wright, I
kind of,
think.
what I looked at, our last fee increase was not only Wright County when we moved in, but also like size schools.
Okay.
But that's a great point, Rob. More so
Yeah.
like than Belle Plaine than anything is what are our Wright County Conference members looking at with their fees? Because we want to be kind of in line with that. The other question I guess I have back for the board too would be, some schools have fee structures based on the sport and the cost of the sport. We all know some sports cost more. And at Jordan, the only sport that we have with an increased fee is football over other activities. Should we be looking sport by sport at different fees? Or do we like that football absolutely needs to be a little higher, but everyone else, flat fee, that's just our activity fee? Something for me to look at going into next year is that thought too.
I mean, my own personal point of view would be whatever others are doing, it's an easier story to kind of explain. And then for whatever reason, if we feel that, this is the approach, even though everybody else is doing it differently, we have rationale for that. But I'd be interested in just kind of seeing kind of what that norm is out there, because then it's consistent, it's transparent, it's easy to explain. Hopefully it minimizes some of the, hurt feelings or people that are upset that inevitably come with any time you have this kind of conversation.
Well, you see Prior Lake too, when we have our co-ops in swimming and gymnastics up there, that their fee is $100 different between being a gymnast and a swimmer.
Yeah.
So, something to consider. I don't think in 1 year we're going to completely throw off the balance and have a $100 difference between any of our activities. I think that would be too drastic of a change, but maybe that's a gradual process as we look at increased fees for certain activities.
But I think it's also though too, where we want to make sure that we have this kind of as a standard, but we also have opportunities in place so that if families can't afford these fees, that we'll find ways to be able to promote that participation. And so wanting just to make sure that we're continuing to strike that balance, which I think we do a really good job with, but just wanting to make sure that that's a piece that's front and center too.
I think too, like, if you're gonna do the difference in fees, like, make sure it's not because of like transportation, but more so like gymnastics, there's a lot of equipment that's expensive to purchase versus like, softball probably doesn't like have as much, like I would say like, it makes sense that there's maybe a little bit higher fee just because of like rental facilities and things like that between the different sports.
Well, that's something definitely I'll consider when I look at next year, and if we do want to maybe break it up, if it's time to say that not everyone's the same fee, we look more at the cost of the program and adding those fees.
That's a really good point, looking at the cost of the programs and what they cost the district compared to what the fees are. I mean, we all know the fees do not in any way, shape, or form cover the cost of the district or the activity or the sport, and it comes out of the general fund to supplement that. So I think it's a really good idea to do that analysis and do that comparison to make that rationale as to why we're going to charge so much more for, say, football. And I'm not picking on football, but I know football's expensive.
It is. It's the most expensive. The helmets,
Yeah,
the reconditioning. I mean, helmet's only good for about 8 to 10 years, and that's lucky if we get that.
And I know it's expensive, so, I mean, I really like that. That'd be something that we should probably do at a work session.
I want to caution us that we don't, as a result of doing that, exclude kids from trying it. So that would be the fear, is that,
That's a great point, Deb, especially with no longer having free lunches too, making sure we're paying attention to educational benefits, because we, in the past, had said if you're on free or reduced lunch, educational benefits, you get a 50% reduction of your fee. We also say we would never turn anyone away because of financial reasons, working with the family right now for next year. where even the 50% rate is a little much. So we'll find a way to get you to participate, and if we increase those fees and that were to deter anyone, we would have that conversation.
Which is a good point. So with a free and reduced literally going away, we don't know.
Right, so we'll have to find some kind of way to determine
To
that. 'Cause
measure.
I assume maybe educational benefits is still a thing next year in some capacity, or?
They're building the plane while they're flying it. We don't know yet.
So that's still kind of TBD on what fees
Yeah.
would look like for next year.
But I
Well, you
think
could also have like middle school fees or like ninth grade level be cheaper. So like, cause those are more introductory levels, you know, like most kids start in like, well, younger or 7th, 8th grade.
And if you scroll up there, you'll actually see the column on the right is 7th and 8th grade fees, actually 6th grade for some activities. Some it's not negotiable, like if you're going to be on the Prior Lake Swim and Dive team, it's a straight fee. And otherwise, many of those have a little bit of a reduction in the fee based on just the length of the season is shorter too.
Right.
How do parents find out about the, if they are struggling with the fees? Like, because it's difficult for anybody to ask for help. We all know that. I mean, I wouldn't want to ask for help when I needed it, even though I probably did. But, so how do parents and students find out about this in a discreet way so they can utilize the program or the services that we offer?
That's a good question. I know Elise put together a really nice packet or one sheet on educational benefits and how there's different ways it can impact you, your family. That was shared pretty broadly across the district, even kids who aren't participant age here. It noted in their athletics that there's a reduction in fees. There's really, that's a great question. We don't have any just language out there in the district saying if you're struggling, let us know. I usually bring it up at our PAC meeting, but at that point, most people are already registered for their activity. So, yeah, it could be just an additional line of dialogue on that registration page.
Could
So,
also be part of like the enrollment process, like they get it when they enroll if they're new to the district.
It
Like
is.
it could be on there as well.
Yeah,
So-
it is.
I know it's a lot to read because there's a lot there, and the activities piece is only a small part of that educational benefits, but I think we did a pretty good job with that information that we blasted out here in August, I think, or whenever that was put together, so.
Absolutely.
And we do, when those people feel comfortable to have those conversations, we'll set up a payment plan.
So like when you go through the registration site, you get the final page, there could be like a little blurb here, like, if you need help with this, contact this number for a payment plan, or, you know.
And that's maybe the route we go, because there is something on the registration called special considerations, is if you're struggling and the fee may be too much, register under special considerations. And then we have those discrete conversations, because people who register under special considerations, they pop up on our radar to figure out, one, which sport they're registering for, and then how they're paying. So there is kind of a discrete way of doing it, but to get to that point, maybe some additional information, yeah.
Renee?
My recommendation would be, early next fall, we can, start thinking about it. And then prior to this, maybe a month ahead of this, we would do a work session with some educational pieces for board members, just what our process looks like, what considerations are out there with the program. Many were mentioned tonight. Considerations we have are equipment costs, transportation costs. Those are all things we have to consider when we're thinking about the fees and costs for the sports. And then Joe could do an analysis with the Wright County as well as our neighboring district and like-sized districts, so that when it comes to April and it's the fee approval piece, you've all had good discussions surrounding that. Would that be something you'd like to do?
Yeah.
And I think that could be a good piece for my board retreat next January too, is to talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
that.
that's a really good time to talk about it.
Maybe just one
I
thing to
love
add
that
is
retreat.
the methodology in terms of determining if there's a reduction, knowing
sure.
that they're flying the plane while they're putting it together.
And I shouldn't have
Good.
said that. That was disrespectful.
No,
I didn't mean
well,
it that way.
It happens a bunch, but if we could
Yeah.
create maybe a methodology that we think is sensible for us, kind of in this point of ambiguity, at least that allows us to be a little bit more kind of prepared and proactive going into next year.
My guess is because what they're looking at is a route called direct certification. We will know those students, and I'm fairly confident that will be what we will use.
Perfect. Okay.
But
I also think like once we kind of get this solidified, I guess, or like if we're going to work on it and then like educating the teachers and the staff, because I know a lot of like if I had teachers and like even just classroom teachers do a lot of recruiting for kids for sports, like just with their daily activities, like when they do track and field event or, like go outside and play. Like they notice that, and then they start having those conversations with kids of like, hey, you should go out for soccer, or you should, you know, do this sport or activity. And then they can also talk about like, well, if money is an issue, like we have a process for that with the kid.
Good. Okay, good discussion. So we have a motion and a second on the table. Any more questions?
I just have one question. I see we have a high school max for family here, but not middle school. And I know there's probably, we only are looking at 7th and 8th grade here typically in these sports. Is that something we would look at or not?
There
Just
should be
There
one
is a middle school max,
Okay.
there's a
like
family max.
like if you scroll
individual.
So no, scroll down a little bit more, right there, like it just says max, middle school max, and just says individual. Is there a family max too for that, or is that?
You know, that
Like
predates
yours-
me. We've always kind of had it that way. I don't know if we, you know, obviously if you have 2 kids, your max would be 650, which is a little higher than the high school 2 children max. So
Just-
maybe that's something to consider too, but we've just never had that.
And typically the sports for the kids is 7th and 8th, right? So there's probably
Right.
not, I mean, there is families that twins or, you know, 7th
Well, but
and
if you
8th,
have
but-
2 kids in high school and 1 middle schooler, like,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Like, does there need to be the breakout? Do we look at it like just middle school, high school? I don't know.
like just a
Just
max in general,
for
no matter
families.
what level they're at.
Yeah, could be expensive if you have 3 kids, 7 through 12, but.
Just ask the Vogels, they had a ton of kids come through the district.
Well, and we want to promote multi-activity athletes. And
Oh, yeah, that's right, they still have kids in the
participants.
district.
So do you move that family max to just be overall family max?
Just activities, family max.
Yeah.
I like that
Instead
idea.
of high school family max, you know?
I don't know enough about it to just make a recommendation to
Yeah.
arbitrarily change the process.
That could be part of the discussion at our retreat.
For next
Yeah,
year.
I mean, I think we need to look at
I
what the
do know
number
though
is
that
for
I
it,
didn't know
but-
anything about the individual max for middle school because I've never had to go in 3 sports and it wasn't like a mom told me. So I also, if I wouldn't have known this and known to register under special considerations, I would have paid $70 more.
When we do have some
So-
families this spring that we're reimbursing and refunding because they've paid over that
Right.
number. And again, maybe it
in
goes
there
back
that
to that
stops you from
registration
doing
page.
that.
This is front and center with
Yeah.
the
Yep.
educational benefits and the family max. So, hey, if you've already reached your family max, register under special considerations, not for your sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there a way to make it automatic where like, because it's all one account, right? Like when you register?
Yeah. You all, yes.
Yeah.
We worked with Affinity on that, Jenny. We tried to, and
Yeah.
they were tough. Like, I think you could do it for one, but then it gets a little muddy when you have multiple activity
Yeah.
participants.
Okay.
So, yeah, if we just had an individual max, we could probably do it, but it's tough when you get in multiple.
Multiple kids?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious if they.
But I'm all for having that conversation again at,
Yeah.
maybe at our retreat to just say, hey, we're just gonna have a max, and maybe I can do a little more digging with my predecessors to figure out why we didn't do that for middle school. But I know we've just always kept it at that one student for middle school.
Okay. Right.
Cool thing with those family passes, if you don't like carrying around the credit card one, we hope to, with the e-ticketing, be able to put season passes on your phone. So you'll be able to just scan in instead of having to show your card.
Cool. Will you still have the you're not gonna print the pass?
We're still gonna, we got a lot of people who like to have a little something in their
Yeah, I
hand.
was
So
gonna-
we're probably not gonna spend the money to do the credit card style. We'll probably do a nice laminated pass instead. But yeah, we'll still have that as an option.
As long as they can put it in the back of their cell
Yeah,
phone
gotta be
case.
able to
That's
fit
where
it,
they
yep.
store it.
Yep. There it is.
I know people that don't have smartphones, so, you know, I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
And I was told by another Wright County school administrator that farmers like to use cash. So we would never, those schools said, we'll never go to completely e-ticketing because we got a lot of people who just like cash. So I think we still have that here in Jordan too, where
Yep.
people would rather pay cash than the extended fee.
Does the e-ticketing cost anything other than like, if you're gonna buy it at the door that day, like they get paid that extra $1.33?
They would get that.
But if you do like the e-ticket family pass, like, do you pay extra then because you're doing the e-ticket or?
No, I think that would be something nice to add on, that like if that would be just a different QR code that you would have on your phone.
Okay.
We wouldn't take any more costs for putting a family pass on there. But there's other nice things, like we can do assigned seating for auditorium when you buy tickets now. And you could even do prom tickets on there, so we'd have money up front. So there's a lot a lot of different options. We're looking at hometown ticketing. Again, I'll probably dive into it at another meeting, but we're having some conversations at the conference level because I think if we go with certain outfits or vendors, we would get a big price break if the whole conference went. There's still some schools that are hesitant just because they don't have the need for it. I don't say we have a hard need for it. I think it's just nice to have both options.
Okay, well, it sounds to me like you have a lot
Yeah.
of food for thought to work on, but are you comfortable, Joe, with the way the policy is, the way it is now?
As
getting
presented
through
with more
this year?
conversation in the future, yeah.
Okay, okay. So with that, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the fee structure, keeping the fee structure as is, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. This is the Joe Perkle
Yeah.
Show tonight.
I love these ones.
Yes.
Debate. So I don't know, this isn't an action item. This is more of an executive summary, or is it an action item?
Well, it can be, depending on how the discussion goes. So
Okay.
how about if we hear
Well,
from
let me just
Mr.
roll with
Perkle
what
and-
we're at. We did a winter, or not a winter, we did it this winter. We did a student activity interest survey, 6th through 11th grade. I was a little more pointed this year to make sure we had a better response, because it's hard to make sure everyone clicks on that survey. So we did it during advisory SNAP at the high school, advisory at the middle school. Tried to get as many participants as we could. We had 447, about 450 respondents, of which 64 said if we had debate, they would be interested. We looked at that. The only other thing that stuck out like a sore thumb, worse than that, was esports. We have a huge, and we'll probably be up here, Cullen Bond and I, talking esports here in the next month or two. But debate was something that a group of sophomore girls approached me in the fall and said, gosh, we'd love Model UN debate, something else. And you look at what we offer for fine arts in the fall, we don't have anything besides theater, really. Winter, you get into a little more robotics, a little more speech, obviously, and then one-act play. So the debate season is in the fall. It wraps up either in December. The one that we're looking at, which is classic debate, what I'll talk about in a second. But otherwise, the latest, if we joined the other debate, which is the one that MSHSL sponsors, that ends beginning of January, right when speech starts. So it's a good opportunity for those fine arts students who are in speech to do both. It's really different than speech. You know, I guess you could say argumentative would be the only category that kind of is similar to this. And it kind of fills that fall fine arts void that we kind of have other than our theater program. So in talking with other schools, kind of doing some research on this leading up to it, Classic Debate, Minnesota Classic Debate was started, I think, in 2002. It's a program where essentially there's about 6 tournaments and then a state tournament. Coaches get together in August in a workshop. They create a category. It may be a question where you can argue both sides. Should the U.S. intervene in the Ukraine-Russia war is the first question. And then at the tournament, you have 4 rounds. Twice you argue for it. Twice you debate against it. So you have to be well-rounded and polished as you go into these debates to be able to talk about both sides of it. And then there's a process to that, and there's judges, and then you get your scores. Halfway through the season, there's a second topic, which I'm told is selected by the students or the participants. Then there's 3 more tournaments there. Again, you don't have to go to all 3. You could go to 1, you could go to 2, you could go to 3. There is an individual fee per participant for each one, where we're still kind of landing the plane on how does the district pay that full fee for all of our participants, or do we say, here's your fee? Again, going back to the fee structure, we don't know what we would charge debate yet, but then on top of that, you would pay for your own entries into these tournaments. District would provide transportation, coaching, judges, and then we would look at just, I guess the only thing that we're still kind of figuring out is that entry fee. So, again, looking at the different, there's, Lincoln Douglas policy, there's classic. I think classic debate is the right fit for us where we're at in a year 1 program. And then we'll reevaluate if we move forward with it after year 1 to say, well, classic wasn't challenging our kids enough. It is more of a novice start, which I think is good for a school that has no experience. And quite frankly, right now, not a coach that we know of. So it's a good opportunity for us to get into it without competing at that really highest level, I guess, of MSHSL. Even though most of the schools you'll see on the list there, a lot of big schools that have really strong debate programs. So we looked at, I worked with Amy, our finance director, on expenses there. We'd have to determine that coaching stipend, start date, end date, kind of work with Schedule C on that. The entry for the transportation. In each of the categories, one of the events is a virtual meet, which is kind of interesting, but then that would provide, we wouldn't have any transportation costs. There's the entry fee costs. You debate in pairs, so it's basically $10 per person or $20 per pair. 7 when it's online. Judges, we would need to, per 4 participants at an event, we would need to provide 1 judge for all day, roughly about $75. They said they were paying their judges. Minimal supplies needs. Every kid has a Chromebook, so a lot of what we do would be online. And then there's just kind of the overall estimated costs of adding a debate program.
Do we need a motion to open the discussion, or? do
No,
we-
no,
okay.
no. This is not it's not an action item unless we, through our discussion, decide that we want to act on it, because it is kind of timely, because your intent would be that this would start in the fall. So if that's the case, we would have to get moving on it. So let's just have a discussion, and then if we get to the point where we feel like that would be a wise thing to do, then we'll move forward. So Lauren.
Is speech in the fall or the winter?
Winter, we do a workshop, I want to say mid-November-ish, but really, we do some light practicing up to winter break, and then after winter break is really when the season starts.
So this wouldn't impact
What I'm
speech?
told, the Classic Debate State Tournament meet is December 1st or 2nd. So really no crossover with speech there.
However, it seems like it would be something speech kids might be interested in.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it seems like a very
Absolutely.
Like it would
nice
complement. Yeah.
compliment, good word. Thank you for finishing my sentence.
You're welcome.
But it's a very nice compliment to the speech program. So I feel like it would be a great opportunity for our kids.
I think a majority of our high school meeting was students who are already in speech, the info meeting that we held, so.
Kaylin, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you want to share your feelings on this?
Yeah, so I guess I know a lot of people that go to other schools too. I would say 75% of the people that I know that do speech at schools like Burnsville or some of the other big schools also do debate, and they pull it off well.
Yeah.
And it's really, I know that they really enjoy debate, and I would have loved to have joined debate. So I think it would be great to add.
Do you think your peer group here would be interested in debate here in Jordan?
Yeah, I know plenty of people that have been wanting a debate team for a while, and I know plenty of people that are very excited to hopefully have a debate team.
Is there a minimum number of participants that we need?
No, that's the nice thing about this is, we could say we're gonna have a debate team, and I don't think this would happen, but let's say we have 2 kids sign
Right.
up. Those 2 kids could compete in all of these events, and.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't, and I don't know, when we start a new program, it seems there's a lot of interest right away, so when we have 64 tagging that they're interested, then we have the actual meetings, 42 attend. Boy, if we had half of that, that would be a huge team. So if we could have 20 kids this first year, that's a big number, and maybe it is with the 3 tournaments with the same category. Maybe you break it down, U10 are going to the first, U10 are going to the second, and everyone's doing the online tournament. So, again, a lot to figure out if we were to move forward to figure out with that new coach.
All right.
Sorry, I
think-
missed this. Do we have somebody who would be identified for the coach or coaches?
Not for this next year. I have someone very interested in the future, but I think you're acting on a maternity leave potentially, so that's next year will not be a year for, I'll just say it, Rachel Rydberg, very national level debater, would love to be a part of this program, will not be available this fall. So kind of piecing it together to start, but she said she wants to pull some strings from the couch if she can, help with the categories and just help out any way she can, but she's gonna probably be on leave to start the school year and gone basically the whole debate season, so.
I think it sounds like a great opportunity. I don't think we should charge the kids to go to the tournaments or whatever though. Like if we do this, I think it needs to be a flat fee and everything's included, just like any other sport or activity. Like kids don't pay to go to a tournament for baseball or softball. Like I don't think they should have to pay extra to go to you know what I mean? Like a different meet. I think it should all be included in one fee.
Other thoughts?
Well,
I think it's a great opportunity. I'm so sorry.
No, go
Who did I
ahead.
just interrupt?
Go
You're
ahead,
fine.
Bryn.
I think we were going at the same time, so go ahead.
So, I'm just looking at the numbers, obviously, and I mean, there's a negative, right? So the total cost is 9 to 11,000, let's say, and our registration fee covers some of that. So, I mean, that's typical with most of our sports that we take a loss. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think we have an activity where we're a net gain with fees.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that was how it ran.
And Jenny, you're probably right. I don't think there is another activity other than maybe speech. We have, if we pay a fee to enter and you don't attend, we require those kids to kick that fee back. Now, if it's an unexpected circumstance, it's different, but we've had
Right.
kids just, we pay that fee and they don't attend, then we charge them back. But for athletics, there are times where we pay for maybe a more expensive event fee and the booster club, their booster club would pick that up. But typically, all event fees within a certain reason is covered, so.
And maybe it's like capped too, like they get 5, and then anything additional to that would be booster or family contributed or whatever, but yeah. I definitely think it's worth it. Like, I think it'd be a cool opportunity for kids. I know when I was in high school, we had debate like as an elective class, so like I took that as my English in 9th grade. And then I was gonna go to a debate meet, but I got strep the weekend I was supposed to go, but so I never did it, but it was always like a cool opportunity, and I think it'd be really great to have that here for like our students. And there's interest. So,
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I think though, I mean, you have to have the critical mass of kids just to be able to close or narrow the gap a little bit. I mean, we have multiple activities that we offer. I think this stacks up with all of them. If there's enough interest, then great. If we are stuck in a situation where there's only 1 or 2 kids that are participating, then that's a different story. But it sounds like that's not the case.
Well, the nice thing about this too, Rob, I talked to the league director for Classic Debate. He said, you set your practice schedule. It doesn't have to be in a gym or anywhere after school at 3:30. You could, I know with speech, we're very flexible. Sometimes we do virtual practices. So a football kid or a theater kid could absolutely do debate on top of that in the same season.
Yeah.
Tennis.
That's good. That's an added bonus. Benefit.
So am I hearing from the board that we'd like to take action on this and move forward and give Mr. Perkel the authority to move forward with presenting the program and coming up with a plan?
I say yes.
What was that, Sarah?
Yes.
You want to make a motion?
Motion to approve the, exploring a debate program here in Jordan.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jenny? Okay, any further discussion or any further direction for Mr. Perkel as to what you would like looked at otherwise?
I do think it'd be beneficial too, as we look at new hires and teaching positions opening, to have the debate coaching posting up on our website as well. Thank you. Excited for them. Nervous when they come into my office because I can't debate very well.
Maybe they'll teach you.
Yep. Maybe a few things to learn when I get home.
Tell them what you told me about how you were going to see if there was interest in the program. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I was going to have the interest meeting and I was going to say, tell me why we shouldn't have debate. And just go to the
There you go.
No, they were really excited. I do think, just to clarify too, we'd probably be looking at 9 through 12 to start. If our numbers are low, maybe we open up to 8th graders, but there was a lot of interest. Just in having conversation with some of the other coaches and the league director, there's some heavy topics. There's stuff that's maybe the maturity level for a 7th, 8th grader is not there yet. So he recommended 9 through 12, but he's also said in years where we're down, we've opened it up to 8th graders. So I think we would shoot for a 9-12 program to start.
I served on the high school league board with Chris McDonald, who is Burnsville or Lakeville, somewhere over there. And he, every year, takes a whole group of kids national. He's a big time, so if you
Is he
need any.
looking for a job?
No, I don't think he's moving. But if you need any
Yeah,
connections, I can hook you up with him.
absolutely.
So, okay, so we have a motion and a second. I don't think we voted, did we?
No.
All those in favor of approving moving forward with speech, or with debate, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, have a good night. Okay, good. Okay, MDE identified official with authority, Iowa. Superintendent Evenson.
All right, Chair Polly, members of the board, this is an annual requirement for school boards in every school district to make this resolution and approve this resolution. I think in the coming years, we're going to do it in January where all of the decisions are made and all of that. What this essentially is, there's a program called EDIAM I do not remember what it stands for, but it's essentially with the Department of Education and how we approve grant money and submit grants and all of the required forms we have to report on for the district. The Iowa is the individual officer with authority. That is the superintendent of districts, and so you need to pass a resolution authorizing me for the coming school year, as you have every school year since I've been here, and previous superintendent before, to be the individual with authority that can click submit.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Renee as the go-to girl. Person of authority.
Iowa.
I second. Okay, I have a motion by Lauren and a second by Molly. Is that a resolution?
Oh,
It says resolution on the top.
I think it is.
It does. Okay, then it's a roll call vote, please.
I don't remember doing this before.
Oh, yeah, we do it every year.
I don't know why I don't remember. I am getting old. I'm the oldest one here. Next to
Carolyn?
I was just waiting.
Okay.
Sarah Laney,
Yeah.
Molly Maya,
Yes.
Rob Langheim,
Yes.
Corinne Hennon,
Yes.
Jenny Kuski,
Yes.
Deb Polly,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to board and administrative reports. Superintendent Evenson.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I have to say, this is one of my favorite meetings in a long time. I just loved having all the kiddos here tonight, and they bring such a good energy, and we're pretty blessed with amazing students and pretty incredible staff that do what they do to provide those opportunities for kids. So with that, this is a big week for our district. Tomorrow is our special election day. Back in December, I think on December 12th or 13th, as a school board, you took action through resolution to have the special election tomorrow. We have one question. It's a yes or no question, and it's for $34,990 for enhancing secure entrances at the high school, the elementary, renovating and adding additions to the elementary, expanding spaces for our students, including ELS, cafeteria, gymnasium, and then just general basic needs for the building, including windows, roof, and other items. So I just want to encourage everyone to vote, encourage everyone to remind others to vote. It's important that everyone's vote is counted. That being said, I want to thank the community. We've had really great questions, really great participation. Early voting has gone really smoothly. Thank you to the election judge and all of the folks that are trained election judges that are supporting the process. We've had great support from the county and the city, and so much appreciation. That being said, I'm going to jump into a legislative update. One of the things I'll say is that as a district, every legislative session, we closely monitor the legislation that could potentially come forward and be passed. So this year is no different than other years in that regard. However, there are more bills being brought forward this year historically surrounding education than any previous year that anyone can remember. So lots of discussion about public education. I will also say there's a lot of communication I'm reading in the papers, seeing on the television about historic funding to school districts. What's surprising is there is not a lot of communication also about historic mandates that have big costs to districts. And I'm sure you've seen that, through MSBA and other organizations. But we are monitoring. Every district is. For us as a district, even one singular legislative item that is passed could cost our district $2 million just with the one, and there are several. So that is a challenge and a concern. The other piece that I would mention is there are some operational mandates that are being discussed legislatively that may end up in omnibus bills. It's the non-exclusionary discipline is one that procedurally will be really challenging to support our teachers. I worry for our teachers with that one especially. Non-exclusionary discipline essentially means that you cannot remove a student from a classroom for disruptive behaviors. Examples, sometimes kids use creative language that's very disruptive to others, or tip over desks or that kind of thing. This legislation is concerning, and that's what I'll say about that. And so it's a larger conversation. I know that superintendents have been very vocal about that concern, and how to support our teachers if that should pass. And so keep watching for that. I think there are others as well that I know as a board, you've received communication as well. You need to be vocal as well with our representatives and senators and all of that, as well as we consider the costs to districts. There are several items being discussed that will essentially limit the amount of control we have as a district over our budget. I think local control is an important piece. One-size-fits-all legislative policy is really tricky in education. It's really hard because the needs of Jordan may not look like the needs of Roseville or Bemidji or Brainerd or anywhere else. And so that's a real challenge. There are some mandates about courses that we may be required to offer. Civics is one, some constraints with that. I think ethnic studies is another one that's come up. The challenge with that, and they might be amazing courses, is when the state requires content to be taught, it limits options for students in terms of electives at the high school level. So that's a conversation and a challenge I think that we could have. So I think that those are important components that we need to be thinking about, right down to class sizes, which is a conversation that we have every single year. I know I meet with every administrator that deals with class sizes, right down to the student count, and we monitor all year long. And typically we've added classes in August when we need to do that, because we, as a district, our philosophy is that class size is an important piece to consider. But that is, when you think about staffing, that's probably 80% of our budget as a district. And for a district to not have control over the staffing and the costs with that would be very concerning. And so the other piece of it is, I want to be really, really clear. We are blessed. We have an amazing community. We have amazing kids. Our staff is second to none. And my goal here is to make sure whatever we do, we remember that we're all one team. I think about how we've gotten through some challenging situations, and honestly, having our teachers at the table like we always have, having our custodians and our kitchen staff, and you as a school board, and really our parents too, like we come together as a team really well. And I think that's important to remember, because things could get very tricky following the legislative session. So those are things that I say not to be dramatic. I don't say that to cause anxiety or concern, but I do feel ethically you need to know, the community needs to know and to pay attention. When we hear historic surpluses and large budgets and all this money going to districts, that's all fine and good, but it's already spent if the mandates with all these price tags also accompany that. So that could be really challenging. That being said, I've noted some important dates. You guys, we are in April. This month is going to be over in a flash. We're coming up on May, our APAC banquet. Please make sure that that's on your calendar. I strongly recommend that we all attend that together if we can. It's an incredible event that supports our programming for our American Indian education students and the community. We have a special presentation from Chris Herron for our community at 7 p.m. on April 26th. He'll be working with our high school students the next day. We have partnered with the Choose Not to Use in Scott County on that, and he'll be talking about addiction and all of those things. And I think it's really important. He was here 7 years ago. People still talk about it. But I think it's important for us, if we can be there, to show support for that for our school community. And then also we have several great things happening with the arts. If you get a chance to get to the plays that are coming up this spring, as well as Grand March and Prom is always just a super fun time. And it's going to be graduation in like 5 minutes. So That being said, that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of those.
Any questions for Superintendent Evenson?
I should know this, but when's the legislative session done?
I think May 23rd. That
Okay.
date pops in my head.
Okay. And then for budgeting for next year, just trying to kind of think of the sequencing, so when we have kind of more information, so we'll have kind of
Yeah,
the
so
summer that,
next board work session on the 17th, Amy will be doing a preliminary update on this last year, the budget that we're in.
Yeah.
She'll also be doing some forecasting, which is tricky until
Yeah.
we know what percent and the mandates and the costs. You know, we're typically very conservative with, you know, how we run our budgets, and we run a very efficient, lean staff and all of that, you know, to begin with, because we want to be right-sized with, you know, the finances we have. But you'll have an update at the work session coming up, and then, you know, typically in June, we have better numbers that we share.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on through the rest of the reports, they're all in the board packet. Did anybody have any questions about any of them? I just, as long as you're still here, Joel, the classifications came out, are we changing? Sure. I know I've got a meeting on Thursday that I can't attend, so.
Yeah, so every 2 years, the State High School League reclassifies schools based on their enrollment and their magical formula with free and reduced, which would be interesting to see how they move forward with that. But we actually came down in a few activities. Basketball moved down, unfortunately. Probably would have, if we would have had a crystal ball, we would have opted up, because now we are in 5 AA, which includes Providence Academy, Watertown, Minneapolis North, a lot of schools that are very strong at basketball. So, but hey, we're up for the challenge. So moving there. Football came down a class. They'll be in 3 AAA, Albert, Lee, Fairmont, Waseca, schools we traditionally play in the regular season. Volleyball came down 2 AA. I'm trying to think of, you know, in a 3-class system, we were just always at this point where we should settle into AA. But those 4 and more, we're kind of bouncing around. I think we're the 3rd biggest basketball and volleyball school now. This one's weird. Baseball's 3A, softball's 2A. So the only thing you can think of there is there must be a few co-ops that shrink the pool for that group to be able to fall into 2A. So yeah, so some big changes in our playoff scheduling next year. I'm going to go to work with our basketball coaches later this week on readjusting our schedule a little bit to get some section opponents.
Did soccer change?
Soccer, unfortunately, when we co-op with Belle Plaine, our number is higher, so we are AA instead of single A because we have to take 50% of our co-op partners' enrollment. So something to consider as we move forward, and I've mentioned it to our friends in Belle Plaine that we need to see more from them is with our soccer participation, or we may need to consider dropping them, because if the only reason we're adding Belle Plaine is to move up a class, we're not seeing the benefit. Yeah.
Boy, you have your work cut out for you.
Yeah, we got a track meet tomorrow, which is going to be awesome. Dan and I did a grounds tour today, and the field conditions are fair, so we should be able to do field events. Track's in great shape. Herb's out there working hard this week to get everything set up, and I appreciate him and Dan kind of doing that, chipping ice for the bleachers, for our spectators. Softball, we're actually, Delano's fields are not ready, so we're actually going to host varsity softball and baseball here on Thursday. So everyone's kind of getting going. We hope the course is open this weekend. I know our golf teams are practicing off-site this week, so everyone was outside today, which was awesome to see.
Great, good. Thank you. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Okay, any questions about any of the other reports? Oh.
Speech. Section speech. This Saturday, we hope to have a few individuals move on, and state speech is Friday, April 29th, I think is that Friday, which is a little different. And I was talking to Coach Peters, the last round of state on Friday night, 9:45 p.m.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yep, get your coffee ready. Yep.
Where is it at?
Eastview High School for that state meet. Again, we have some really strong individuals. We hope to push at least a few through onto state. So good luck, Coach Peters and the speech team this Saturday. And our spring musical weekend of May 7th and 8th.
Thank you. Okay. So that's all the reports. On to committee reports. City School, we have a meeting coming up. Our next meeting is in May. We reported on our meeting at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're good there. Community Ed and Rec, Lauren or Corinne?
I did
not. I know I did not come, or I did not go to the last meeting.
Okay, so we're good there. Okay,
Yeah.
curriculum and
But I think there is
I-
one coming up that I know I can't. do.
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. I should be able to go,
Okay.
so
okay,
I'll be fine.
okay. Curriculum and tech,
That got canceled. We haven't met and it's canceled because of,
she's doing the virtual, she's gonna send out a
Oh.
survey type thing.
right.
That people in that committee can respond to. Okay, facilities, we have not met. Meet and confer has not met. Negotiations, is that the union did file their intent to negotiate, which is a formal process that they do all the time. Southwest Metro has done the same too. It's just formalizing, saying we're ready to meet whenever. And so they're in agreement that we're gonna wait until after everything settles down at the legislature, so we know what things break out as. Policy, we have not met, I don't believe.
Coming up, though.
Okay. APAC met on last Thursday. And let's see, we talked a lot about, we talked about the banquet, and they're, bringing in a, presenter that's gonna spend the day in the, high school. He's,
Danny Bummagy,
yes,
he's a PhD, I think.
right, and he works with Native American culture, and part of the day will be, he specializes in doing food, Native American food, so he would be working with culinary arts people there. That probably would happen over the summer. And the other one is he would work with the FIED classes, doing Native American trainings and stuff like that. And they're trying to coordinate it so that it will be the same day as the APAC banquet, so that he would be here that night and be able to participate and speak. And I don't know if he's one of the drummers or not, I don't remember.
No, I don't
Native
think-
drummers, I don't think
I
so.
don't think he's a drummer, I think that's Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Can't think of his last name right off the top of my head.
So we talked about that, we talked about the banquet, we talked about how to support students that are struggling with attendance, working through some of that. Let's see what else. The budget, APAC budget was a big part of the discussion. So it was a very productive meeting, good meeting, so. Booster Club,
Deferred for a couple of weeks because of holidays. So
Okay.
Meeting in a week or so.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we pushed out 2 weeks, but yeah.
okay, Ed Foundation,
We met on the 21st. They're finishing up yard signs. Those finished up on Friday, I believe. They still have grams that are available through May 5th, so go out and get those. They talked about the annual fundraising, the gala,
Gala.
say it, I don't know. Larry.
Party.
The party, yes, and that's going to be they haven't picked the date yet. They're still working on solidifying the date. Larry Kozlerich, there was a donation made in his honor to the Education Foundation. They did have 21 submissions for grants, and they approved 19 of them. So those people should be notified soon. And I think that's it, really, yeah.
They moved some of their money
Oh, right.
to that investment account.
Oh,
Was that
yeah.
last time?
Yeah,
They put
well,
a chunk into a CD
we did that before, but they just talked about it again.
for the.
Yeah,
CD rates are up a little bit, so is it
Yeah.
like a 6-month or 1 year, or?
I think it was a 6
They did six, we
month.
did six, I think. They talked
Okay.
about both, but I think
Yeah.
they did
Or
six.
did they decide to do no, they did the 6 months because then they were gonna reevaluate and see if
Yeah.
they could move it somewhere else again, so. Yeah, they're doing a good job. They're getting, they're really excited to get that many grant applications. There were some repeat applicants, but not repeat ideas, so it was good.
Good. Great, thank you. Legislative, Superintendent Evenson filled us in on that, but again, I want to remind you that from 9 to 9:30 on every Friday, MSBA has our lobbyists that give a very quick update on what's going on in the Capitol. And they also do provide scans where you can just get right on and send a letter to the powers to be, our legislators and/or the heads of the committees. So it's really important that like the head of the education committee and the people that are making policy and finance that are heading up these committees hear from people from all over the state, you know, because like our legislators hear from us, and that's important, but it's also important that the committee people hear, because they're the ones that have the power, so.
Where's that link for that?
They sent, do you get the MSBA emails?
Yeah, but I've not seen it on there. Maybe I'm just blind. Like, I was looking for the link and I'm like, where's the link for Friday? Maybe it's just not labeled Friday morning.
It's in an email. It's a separate email that you'll get, and it'll say, I think, Friday chat room, and it's in there.
Yeah, you might have to
Okay.
sign specifically up for that though, and it typically doesn't come until late Thursday, and it's the link.
Maybe I'll have you help me after. Because
Okay.
I was like looking for it and I couldn't find it like a few weeks ago.
Good.
But I got like the pre-recorded one that Renee sent. Like, that I could get access to.
Okay. MSHSL, Joe updated us on that. Scale? Did Scale meet?
Scale met on, I was out of district. They met on,
I'm gonna say I was out of town. I haven't been in town very much this year.
Okay,
no, that's not right. Scale meets this Friday. I'm out of district. I'm at Winona State
okay.
on Friday.
Are you able?
I am out of town.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe I can modify my schedule.
They send pretty good updates though, too. So.
Yeah. Okay, you work that out. SEAC, Molly? I don't think so. Southwest Metro, I was not at that meeting. That was 2 days after Myron passed, but just from the minutes, I know they are continuing investigating the purchase of the East Carver County school for a level 4 school. So they're working on that. I think they had some legal work that they had done on that. They're wrapping up their strat plan. I was able to attend the strat planning processes, and they're going to be presenting that to the board next week. I'm talking about that. Talked about summer horse camp. I think that was mainly what we talked about it. And budgeting. They're in the middle of budgeting too. So with that, we'll go around and do board reports. Kaylin, you want to give us your report?
So some of our high school choir and band students had the opportunity last week to go to solo and ensemble contest. All of our students received either a superior or an excellent rating, with, I believe we had a student receive a perfect score and best in sight.
Wow.
So our choir and band students had a really good showing last week. Our 9th and 10th grade students had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. over spring break, and I know that they had a lot of fun on that, and that was really cool for them. Our spring sports have all started, so golf, lacrosse, softball, baseball, track. Everybody's really excited about getting to play and getting to be outside finally. Our high school awards night is next month, as well as the National Honor Society induction ceremony. That's coming up as well. Our seniors are getting ready to graduate. Everybody is ready for May 1st, which is our decision day, so everybody will be in their colors for their schools. And then National Signing Day is on Wednesday, which is exciting too. At the high school, we've got some standardized testing going on, so the ACT, I believe, is next week, as well as we've got some MCA testing going on too. We've got one more band concert and one more choir concert coming up. Those are both in early May. Everybody's getting really excited for prom, so prom and the Grand March will both be on April 29th. And then the high school musical will be running from, I believe it's May 4th through the 7th. So we're putting on the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. So everybody is super excited for that. And then the spring play at the middle school will be on April 28th and April 30th.
Wow. Great, thank you, Kaylin. Jenny?
I don't really have any updates, I guess. Just had spring break last week.
Okay. Corinne?
Let's see, I feel like I'm a little out of touch here too, just because I was gone last board meeting. I was in Costa Rica, sorry everyone, it was amazing. I watched a third grade concert from Costa Rica though, so that was kind of fun that I was able to stream it there. It was very cute. They did a really good job. A little hard to hear, so kind of bummed as a mom, but looked really cute. Last week I was at Celebrate Jordan. So I was at the Jordan booth. Had a lot of traffic come around. Nobody really asked a lot of questions at the booth. At our booth, I'm kind of hoping at your booth there was some more questions. We didn't really field any questions when I was there. Still had a lot of people kind of, mingling around. I got to go around and look at the booths and some fun vendors there. My kids loved it. It was like trick-or-treating for them, essentially, so. What can we get? But that was nice. It was a really nice showing and had some food trucks. Yeah, I think that's all I got right now. I feel like I was watching basketball online because I couldn't, boys basketball online and girls basketball but it feels so long ago and now we're already talking about spring sports, but that's kind of the last sports that I was at, and now we'll shift to spring, so, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Corinne. Rob?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's technically spring, I guess. In the last 2 days, I guess I've confirmed that slightly, but quickly the school year's going to be over, and so how fast it's gone. I think outside of just kind of going through kind of spring break and getting ready kind of for the next couple of months before going into summer. Tomorrow, just kind of with the milestone, with the referendum, just want to just kind of say how wonderful it is in terms of the school and the leadership and everyone that's been involved a part of the referendum. And more so in terms of just being able to state the case and to be able to create a very, kind of unemotional, but just kind of fact-based rationale for why we think that this is important and why now. And being very, kind of thoughtful and purposeful in terms of making sure that we're continuing to maximize dollars that are part of the district, really trying to bring them to best use. And so I'm not exactly sure what the outcomes will be for tomorrow, but just as a board member and a person who is mostly kind of observed with a bit of kind of participating in kind of how the process has unfolded up to this point, just how immensely proud I am of everyone who's been involved, and I'm very hopeful for tomorrow. But in terms of the process, the integrity, the amount of time and the effort that went into that type of process, couldn't be more proud as a community member. So thank you for everybody who's been involved.
Molly?
I second what Rob said.
I'm gonna third it,
All
just
of
so you
that.
know.
Yeah, we can just wrap up.
I'm gonna be out of town next month, starting the 23rd.
Okay.
So that's why I have declined a few of the meetings. I can't go to APAC. I can't go to the city school. I think there was one other one I couldn't make, probably the community ed and rec. So I don't have any other update other than I'm not gonna be in town.
Okay. Sarah?
Yeah, I'll fourth what Rob said. And I mean, I just appreciate all the work that that's gone into it, and tomorrow's the day. So excited to find out the results. And then I cannot believe we are in spring. We've started spring sports. We're talking about prom and graduation, and I feel like we were just here. Just here. I really do.
5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So it's just crazy. I mean, we're talking about the school year. We'll have the staff breakfast before we know it, right? So, but that's all.
Oh, God, when's that staff breakfast? Gotta make sure I'm in town for that.
Friday the 2nd or the 1st? June.
Oh, I'll be back.
Yeah. That's
I don't know
Friday.
that the date's been.
I
mean,
love that
it's
staff
normally it's their
breakfast
last
and that
day,
end of
yeah.
year thing they pull together. It is amazing. It's one of the favorite, like the beginning of the year breakfast and the end of the year breakfast.
The 2nd, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I already have it on my calendar because I assume.
I'm sad I'm gonna miss prom Grand March. I've gone to every single Grand March since Lexi was in kindergarten.
Oh.
This will be the first one I miss.
Gosh. Yes, yeah.
That's a good point.
This is true.
I really don't have anything other than I want to thank all of you for the support and the prayers. I'm going to stop there because I'll cry, so thank you.